There are dozens of drill teams working simultaneously. The combined noise is overwhelming, constant, inescapable. Men shout to communicate and can't hear the person next to them. After months of this, their hearing degrades noticeably. After years, many are functionally deaf, can't hear normal conversation, can't hear warning shouts when blasts are about to go off. The deafness makes the work more dangerous. Men who can't hear warnings get killed in accidents that could have been prevented. This is the technology. 2 men, 1 drill, 1 hammer. Hours of years after they leave the tunnel. They don't get counted in the official toll, but their casualties just the same. Killed by the work? Just slowly. The noise is another killer. Not immediately fatal, but permanently damaging. The sound of a sledgehammer striking a steel drill echoes in granite tunnels at levels that destroy hearing. They leave solid rock standing between them. Useless. The ideal pattern creates overlapping fracture zones. Holes placed maybe 2 to 3 feet apart in a grid. Sometimes 20 holes, sometimes 30. Depends on the rock face dimensions and the rock characteristics. Each hole takes 4 to 6 hours to drill with hand tools. Do the math. 20 holes means 80 to 120 man-hours of drilling before a single blast, and that's 1 cycle. 1 blast might advance the tunnel 3 to 5 feet if everything goes perfectly. Then start over. Drill 20 more holes. Blast again. This is the pace. This is why it takes 24 years. When enough holes are ready, the blasting crew takes over. Different specialists. Men who understand black powder, how much to use, how to pack it, how to place fuses. This is dangerous knowledge gained through start another. Creating a pattern across the rock face. The pattern matters. Experienced blasters know that hole placement determines how the rock breaks. Holes too close together waste effort. The first blast destroys nearby holes before they can fire. Holes too far apart, these are cloth tubes filled with black powder, burn at supposedly predictable rates. Maybe 1 foot per minute, maybe faster, maybe slower. Depends on powder quality, moisture, air circulation, dozens of variables. Experienced blasters learn to estimate. But it's still guesswork. Lighting the fuses requires nerve. The blasting crew lights them in sequence. Furthest holes first. Work backward toward the entrance. This gives maximum time to retreat before the experience. Too little powder means the blast fails to break the rock. Wasted drilling. Too much powder creates excessive force that can collapse the tunnel or throw rock back toward the workers. Finding the right amount requires judgment. Black powder itself is inconsistent. Quality varies by batch. Moisture affects performance. Old powder loses potency or becomes unstable. The blasters pack each hole carefully. Paper cartridges filled with black powder, tamped down with wooden rods. Never metal. Metal on rock creates sparks that can ignite powder prematurely. A wooden plug or clay seals the hole, traps the explosive force, directs it into the rock instead of back out the hole. Each hole gets a fuse, first blast. But fuses are unpredictable. Sometimes one burns faster than expected, goes off while the crew is still lighting others. When that happens, the blast can trigger adjacent charges through concussion or flying sparks. Sympathetic detonation. Multiple blasts in rapid sequence. If you're still in the tunnel when this starts, you're probably dead. The crew knows this. They light fuses and run. Every time. No exceptions. Even if they think they have plenty of time. Even if the fuses are supposedly long. Run. Get behind the protective barrier or get out of the tunnel entirely. Pray the timing works out. Usually it does. Sometimes it doesn't. May 1860, a blast goes wrong at the east portal. A worker named John Fennell lights a fuse. It appears to go out. This happens. Damp powder or damaged fuse. Fennell waits the required time to make sure it's truly dead. Approaches the hole, inserts a new fuse, lights it, retreats to cover, waits for the blast. Nothing happens again. After waiting, he approaches the heading to investigate. The instant he reaches the rock face, the charge detonates. The blast takes off the upper portion of his head, mutilates the rest of his body. He survives 24 hours. Dies the next day. This is listed as an unavoidable accident. It's actually the second fatal blast accident at that location. The first, a worker put his head out from behind protective cover when a blast hung fire. The delayed blast sent rock fragments into his skull, fractured his head. He died from the injury. These aren't rare incidents. These are normal operational hazards. This is what blasting means in 1860. The blast itself is violence translated into physics. Black powder is relatively slow burning compared to modern explosives. Deflagrates, rather than detonates, produces gas at subsonic to clear enough to see. Hours before, the air is truly breathable. But work can't wait for perfect conditions. As soon as the worst clears, workers move back in. Check for misfires, holes that didn't fire. These are deadly. A hole with a smoldering charge can detonate when you approach it. Workers have to carefully check each hole. Remove unfired charges if possible. Avoid disturbing anything that might still be active. Then clear the muck. Broken rock has to be shoveled into wheelbarrows or carts, hauled to the portal, dumped outside, tons of rock per blast. Backbreaking work. When it's clear, survey the progress. Measure how much the tunnel advanced. Usually 3 to 5 feet if the blast went well, sometimes less if the rock didn't cooperate. Then start drilling again. 20 more holes, 4 to 6 hours each. The cycle repeats every day, multiple shifts, for years. The tunnel is being drilled from both ends simultaneously. East Portal near Florida, Massachusetts. West Portal near North Adams. The plan is to meet in the middle. Simple geometry, right? Except there's a problem. How do you make sure the two tunnels actually meet? This is 1855. No lasers, no GPS, no sophisticated surveying equipment. They have to sight a line from East Portal to West Portal across 5 miles of mountain through dense forest and hope their calculations are accurate. If the surveys are wrong, they'll drill 2 separate holes that miss each other completely. Years of work wasted. Engineers clear a path through the forest on top of Hoosac Mountain. String a line from east to west. Place wooden posts with grooved iron markers along the road. This is supposed to keep everything aligned, but nobody really knows if it's working. In 18 speeds, but in a confined hole, that expanding gas creates enormous pressure, thousands of pounds per square inch. The rock can't contain it. Fractures radiate from the hole. The rock face shatters. Chunks ranging from dust-sized particles to boulders weighing hundreds of pounds fly in all directions. The sound is overwhelming. Pressure wave, shock, echoing in granite. Workers hiding behind barriers feel the concussion in their chests. The air fills with dust so thick you can't see 5 feet. Powder smoke, rock particles, toxic fumes. The smell is distinct. Sulfur, burning, rock dust. Takes minutes for 10 men die or are seriously injured. The causes vary: explosions, falling rock, equipment failures, accidents with scaffolding or ladders. Each death gets a brief mention in local newspapers if it's dramatic enough. Most don't. Most are just recorded in company logs. Worker killed, cause blast. No name, no details. Another man hired by end of day. The work continues because it has to. The state has invested millions. Political pressure demands progress. The workers need jobs, so drilling continues despite the casualties. Despite the knowledge that men are dying for wages that barely support their families. In 1966, a new chief engineer named Thomas Doane takes over. He doesn't trust the existing surveys. He resurveys everything. Builds 6 stone towers along the mountain ridge. Each tower contains a transit scope for precise sighting. He runs the surveys multiple times, installs steel bolts at fixed intervals. The math checks out. Probably, maybe. They won't know for certain until the tunnels meet. That's years away. Meanwhile, workers are dying. In 1866 alone, 14. Massachusetts winters are harsh. Temperatures below zero. Heavy snow. The camps have minimal heating. Families burn whatever wood they can scavenge. Children get sick, die from disease that proper housing would prevent. But proper housing costs money the workers don't have. The camps have schools, makeshift structures, single room, one teacher serving dozens of children of all ages. The children attend when they can, when their labor isn't needed at home or in supporting roles around the tunnel. Some children work, not in the tunnel directly, the work is too dangerous, but hauling supplies, fetching water, running messages, doing whatever contributes a few $2 to $3 per day. That's about $64 to $96 in modern money. Good pay for 1860s manual labor, better than farming, better than mill work, enough to risk your life if you have mouths to feed. And most of these workers do. Irish immigrants fleeing famine and poverty, Cornish miners with expertise in hard rock, German laborers, French Canadians, men who came to western Massachusetts because the Hoosac Tunnel offered steady employment when other jobs were scarce or seasonal. They build lives here, real lives, families. Around each portal, temporary towns develop that will exist for 2 decades. The East Camp near Florida, the West Camp near North Adams. These aren't just work sites, they're communities. Clusters of wooden huts built by the workers themselves, rough structures, single room for entire families in many cases, wood plank walls, tar paper roofs, whatever materials are available. Families cook over open fires or small wood stoves, sleep on straw mattresses, live in conditions that are barely adequate in summer and brutal in winter. No grave to visit, just absence. The community absorbs these losses and continues. There's no alternative. The work must go on. The families need the wages, so the next shift descends into the tunnel and the cycle continues. The camps also have infrastructure supporting the tunnel work itself. Blacksmith shops running constantly, sharpening drills, repairing tools, forging new equipment. The clang of hammers on metal is constant. Light machine shops, building and maintaining the equipment, air compressors, hoists, pumps, steam engines, everything mechanical that keeps the tunnel operating. Supply warehouses, storing black powder, later nitroglycerin. This is terrifying for families living nearby. One accidental explosion could kill dozens. It happens at other tunnels and mines. Hasn't happened here yet, but the risk is always present. Explosive storage sits maybe 100 yards from where families sleep. That's the reality. The West Portal hits a crisis early. At 260 feet depth, the rock-chilled Orrin Wilson was doing this when he died, crushed by an elevator at the central shaft. Not old enough to work the tunnel legally, old enough to die in an industrial accident anyway. The camps have churches, multiple denominations, Catholic churches for the Irish and French Canadian workers, Protestant churches for the Cornish and Germans. These aren't grand structures, wooden buildings, rough-hewn pews, but they serve essential functions: spiritual comfort, community gathering places, spaces for weddings, baptisms, funerals. There are a lot of funerals. Families wait outside the tunnel entrances. They know the risks. They know that any shift could be the last. When the shift changes and their husband or father or son doesn't emerge, they know. The screaming starts, the wailing. Other families gather, offer what comfort they can. The body gets recovered if possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes workers are buried under tons of rock and can't be reached. Those families never get closure. No body to bury. 17th, 1867. The date everyone remembers. The central shaft disaster. Here's what happened. Besides tunneling from east and west portals, engineers planned a vertical shaft from the top of the mountain down to tunnel level, 1,000 feet deep. This shaft would provide ventilation once the tunnel opened. It also provided another access point during construction. Workers could descend the shaft and dig outward in both directions, effectively creating 4 excavation faces instead of 2. On October 17th, 13 men are working at the bottom of the shaft. It's 583 feet deep at this point. Still another 400 plus feet to go. At the surface, a wooden building houses the hoist equipment, ropes, pulleys, steam engines, everything needed to lower men, equipment, and supplies down the shaft and raise excavated rock back up. The building also stores materials: gasoline, oil for lamps, explosives waiting to be lowered down. Someone's using a gasometer for lighting, a device that produces light from gasoline fumes. It's incredibly dangerous. Everyone knows it, but it provides good light, and that's what matters. Around noon, a candle ignites the gas changes. Instead of solid granite, they encounter soft, unstable ground. The tunnel walls collapse as fast as they excavate. This is a disaster. Engineers have no solution. They can't tunnel through material that won't support itself. After months of failed attempts, They develop a solution. Build a brick tube, not just brick lining, a complete structural tube, 26 feet in diameter, 3 to 4 feet thick, 6 to 10 layers of brick in some sections, built before they can advance forward. This slows progress to an absolute crawl, but it's the only way through the unstable zone. By the end of construction, over 20 million bricks will be used in the tunnel, most at the west end, holding back rock that wants to collapse. The human cost escalates in 1867. October fill the shaft. There's no air. They can't breathe. All 13 die from asphyxiation. Rescue attempts are made, but the fumes are too strong. Nobody can descend the shaft. The water keeps rising. It takes a full year to pump out the shaft and recover the bodies. When workers finally reach the bottom in 1868, they find the raft, find the bodies, confirm what everyone already knew, all 13 dead. This is the worst single incident in Hoosac Tunnel history, but it's far from the only tragedy. If you're the kind of person who believes these stories deserve to be remembered, hit subscribe. This channel exists because people like you refuse to let history be forgotten. The men who died building the Hoosac Tunnel didn't expect memorials or recognition. They expected to work, get paid, go home to their families. Most didn't get that chance. Subscribe if you think their sacrifice matters. March 20th, 1865. Another disaster, different kind. This is the day nitroglycerin fumes. The explosion is immediate. The wooden building catches fire instantly. Flames everywhere. The 4 men working topside barely escape with their lives. They have no time to warn the men below or attempt a rescue. The burning building collapses. Equipment, timber, burning debris, all of it falls down the shaft. The hoist mechanism is destroyed. The men at the bottom are trapped. Their names: James Burnett, James Kavanaugh, Peter Collins, Thomas Collins, Patrick Connolly, Thomas Cook, John Curran, James Fitzgerald, Edwin Haskins, James McCormick, Joseph Messier, Thomas Mulcair, Michael Whalen, 13 men, most Irish, ages ranging from mid-20s to early 40s. Some of them survive the initial collapse. They're not crushed by falling debris or killed by fire, not immediately. They build a crude raft from available timber, try to stay above the water that's flooding the shaft now that the pumps have been destroyed. But the fire has consumed all the oxygen, smoke and carbon monoxide, and nobody knows the full story. But despite the danger, nitroglycerin becomes standard. Because it works. It blasts through granite faster than anything else available. By the late 1860s, George Mabry builds America's first nitroglycerin factory near the West Portal, produces the explosive on-site. This is insane. The factory itself explodes multiple times. Workers die. But it keeps operating because shipping unstable nitroglycerin over rough roads is even more dangerous than making it locally. Over 500,000 pounds of nitroglycerin get used in the Hoosac Tunnel. That's 250 tons of one of the most unstable explosives ever created, used by workers who are learning through trial and error how to handle it safely. The error part kills people. For 15 years, all drilling is done by hand. Double jacking, 2 men, 1 drill, 1 hammer, hours of work for a few feet of progress. Then technology catches up. Late 1860s, the Burley drill arrives. It's a pneumatic drill, powered by compressed air. Mechanical, fast, revolutionary. Glycerin is introduced to American construction. 3 explosives experts, Ned Brinkman, Billy Nash, and Ringo Kelly, decide to test the new explosive in the tunnel. Nitroglycerin is exponentially more powerful than black powder. It can blast through granite that black powder barely scratches, but it's wildly unstable. The slightest impact can detonate it. Temperature changes can set it off. It's incredibly dangerous. The 3 men place a charge, run toward a safety bunker about 100 feet back. They're halfway there when Ringo Kelly sets off the charge. Why? Nobody knows. Some say accident, some say deliberate. Ned Brinkman and Billy Nash never reach the shelter. The explosion buries them under tons of rock, killed instantly, or maybe not instantly, maybe trapped and slowly crushed. Nobody recovers their bodies immediately. Too much rock, too dangerous. Ringo Kelly disappears right after, never seen again. until March 30th, 1866, exactly 1 year and 10 days later. Workers find his body inside the tunnel, almost exactly at the spot where Brinkman and Nash died. No visible injuries, no explanation for how he got there, no signs of what killed him, just dead. The workers have theories. Murder. Someone hunted him down for killing his partners. And suicide. Guilt drove him back to the spot and he killed himself somehow. Ghost story. Vengeful spirits of Brinkman and Nash dragged him back. Take your pick. The facts are, 3 men went to test nitroglycerin. All 3 ended up dead. Critics are savage. Future Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. quips that he'd like to wall up a dozen lawyers at one end of the tunnel and put a good fee at the other. Newspapers mock the project. Investors are furious. The state legislature considers abandoning the entire thing. Instead, they hire private contractors. Walter and Francis Shanley, 2 highly regarded Canadian civil engineers, take over in 1868. The Shanleys implement systematic improvements. One machine can drill faster and deeper than any human team, but pneumatic drills require infrastructure. Thomas Doane, the chief engineer, builds a dam on the Deerfield River near the East Portal, diverts water through a canal to a compressor building. The water falls 30 feet, driving turbines that power air compressors. Compressed air flows through pipes to the workface where it powers the drills. The system works brilliantly. Drilling speed increases by factors. What took hours with hand drills now takes minutes. But there's a cost. The pneumatic drills are deafeningly loud. The noise in the tunnel becomes unbearable. Workers go permanently deaf. The drills also produce more dust, more powder smoke. The ventilation can't keep up. Men develop respiratory diseases, silicosis, lung damage that kills them years after they stop working. Those deaths don't get counted in the official toll. By 1868, progress is still painfully slow. After 17 years, only about 1/3 of the tunnel is complete. The state has spent millions beyond the original estimate. Political pressure mounts. These men didn't have YouTube channels. They didn't have anyone telling their story. We're changing that. If you believe their sacrifice deserves to be known, hit subscribe. Nobody was filming when these workers risked everything for wages that barely fed their families. No one documented their courage. But we are now. Subscribe if you think that matters. The innovations developed at Hoosac change tunnel engineering forever. The center cut method becomes industry standard. Pneumatic drills replace hand drilling worldwide. Nitroglycerin, refined into more stable dynamite by Alfred Nobel in 1867, they adopt the center cut drilling method. Instead of randomly drilling holes across the rock face, they drill in a specific 3-stage sequence. First stage, holes placed near center, angled inward. When blasted, this creates a V-shaped void. Second and third stages, surrounding holes are drilled and blasted. The rock from these blasts falls into the center void created by the first blast. More efficient, faster progress. The Shanleys also standardize nitroglycerin use, improve ventilation, mechanize more operations, and implement better safety protocols. Progress accelerates, not dramatically, but measurably. Multiple explosions kill several workers. 1874, Orrin Wilson, age 14, son of a tunnel worker, crushed to death by an elevator accident. He wasn't even a worker, just a kid at the wrong place, dead at 14. The final recorded death comes in 1880, 5 years after the tunnel opens. Albert Marcoux, killed in an explosion in one of the side tunnels, listed as becomes the standard blasting explosive. Electric detonation, using batteries to trigger blasting caps instead of burning fuses, makes explosives controllable and safer. All tested at Hoosac, all perfected through trial and error, all paid for with workers' lives. Future tunnels benefit from these lessons. The Moffat Tunnel in Colorado, the Cascade Tunnel in Washington, tunnels across Europe. All built faster, cheaper, safer because of techniques developed here. The Hoosac Tunnel is essentially a decades-long engineering experiment. The workers are the test subjects. The casualties are the tuition. That's the brutal calculus. The final years see continued deaths throughout the 1870s. Different causes, but same result. September 1869. 2 unnamed workers fall to their deaths. Same month. A man named Menable falls. 1871. Blast. The last 16 feet of rock separating east and west tunnels are blasted away under North Adams. The tunnels meet. After 24 years, the surveys were accurate, the alignment is nearly perfect. Only a few inches off over 4.75 miles. Incredible engineering for 1870s technology. February 9th, 1875. The first train passes through. A test run. Not passenger service yet, just proving the tunnel works. 2 months later, April, is the 199th casualty, though the official count varies. Some sources say 195, some say 196, some say nearly 200. The records aren't perfect. Many deaths went unrecorded. Men listed only as unknown, or Frenchman, or brother of, their real names lost, their families forgotten, just statistics in casualty reports. November 27, 1874. Thanksgiving Day, the final blast. The last 16 feet of rock separating east and west tunnels are blasted away under North Adams. The tunnels meet. After 24 years, the surveys were accurate, the alignment is nearly